Hello, this is Hugh Mackenzie, and this is my SK700 Understanding Employability video oral presentation. For my one, I decided I wanted to have a look at somebody in the field of journalism, so I kind of thought about if I knew anybody in that kind of line, and through a kind of tenuous link, I realised my friend of mine's sister's boyfriend used to be a music journalist, and so I sent him an email, contacted him, and asked him if he'd be okay about kind of meeting me over Skype for a conversation about journalism as a career path. And after talking to him, I got some good feedback. I think he told me very much all about kind of networking and sort of finding people and finding links in to the career. Essentially, he said one thing. He started as a freelance journalist and then got a job at a little kind of indie magazine where he wrote kind of reviews and interviews for small indie bands he used to meet. He said when he was doing freelance work, there's a whole thing about the lack of security in the job, as you never really know kind of when your next paycheck's coming from and what your next job is. So you've always got to be kind of creating work for yourself essentially, and always very much your own boss in deciding you've got to write this and send it away and have an interview with these people and meet them and do that. And which is kind of good because you can create your own schedule, but you've got to have a very strong work ethic in order to be able to stick to a thing and make sure you're not just sitting home doing nothing all day. But he said once he got a proper job at this little magazine, there was a lot more stability to it, and there was a lot more kind of, he knows, kind of every now and again he'll have to write an interview or a review, and he's got to kind of stick to that schedule, which is slightly more stable, and he knows where the money's coming from and when it's coming from, so that's just a little bit easier. He said obviously there's no official entry requirement, providing you can just write well and they like your writing. They're probably going to hire you again and get you to do more stuff. However, obviously, if they see on your CV that you have a degree in journalism or English or just anything, a strong degree, that can only be a good thing essentially. And in terms of a kind of little job which could be seen as a way into that, because like I said, it's all about kind of networking. He said you could get a job as a kind of a runner at some sort of newspaper or magazine, unpaid, but it's kind of just good experience, and you meet people who may later, come in handy if you've got a good kind of networking system, because you can kind of go them and maybe go with something else you've written and stuff like that. And also just on top of that, if you can get kind of articles published in student newspaper or get a blog online or something, that's something you can show them to see. I've done this in the past, almost like a kind of portfolio. That can only be a good thing. He said obviously it's a highly competitive field, and there's loads of people who are always going to be going for something like that, and so just anything you can do really is going to kind of in order to separate yourself from the pack and kind of make yourself stand out and show kind of I'm not just another person, I've got a good work ethic and I know what I'm doing, and so that's where something like having a job as a runner will completely come in handy, because you'll be able to say, I worked for the magazine and I've had a little idea about kind of what's going on and how it's run and all that idea. Yeah, I mean he said he doesn't do it anymore because it wasn't necessarily what he wanted to be going into. I mean, he very enjoyed it a lot, and he said he just kind of grew up, he loved music and he enjoyed writing in particular about that, so he just kind of came about through random coincidences, because he kind of was doing a bit of that, and it led to kind of him, kind of knowing friends who were in that industry, so he managed to get in there doing and write a couple of articles and managed to get quite high up in that career path. However, it kind of essentially wasn't what he wanted to be doing, so after a while he kind of left that and went down a different career path. But just having that experience as a worker and someone who's kind of self-employed is always going to kind of come in handy, because it's going to look good for other employers, and also you've just got that experience of what it's like to be self-employed or to be working in in any kind of office, whether it's a magazine situation like that. So with that, that's obviously given me a lot of kind of good advice about how I might go about doing something like that. Like, for example, I used to write a blog kind of reviewing films and such, and kind of any experience like that, I can maybe apply to kind of the student newspaper for stuff like that, and just kind of keep on essentially following that path and kind of uh, writing stuff online or whatever, and also kind of meeting people because it's kind of so highly about who you know and kind of networks and any little way in you can get. And if you know, if I meet someone, I can kind of be strong enough to go, okay, can I get your email address so I can maybe contact you later about maybe a bit of unpaid work or just anything to get myself in that idea. And I think that was just very helpful thing to do, to have someone in that career who can kind of lay down some kind of logistics of what goes on and what you can do in order to help yourself along that line. And that's kind of the majority of what I feel like I learned from that particular meeting.